So we are here today to talk about relationships and how fairy tales in our life can affect those relationships and especially the way that we approach dating. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. I am so happy to be doing an Instagram live and also recording my first YouTube video. So you all are a part of that. I hope to see some comments from you about what your favorite Bollywood or Disney movies and fairy tales are from maybe your childhood, but for the most part, I'm going to be talking a little bit about mine and my favorite stories and how they have affected not only my clients, but also my own experience in dating and relationships, specifically, stories like Cinderella, stories like Snow White, Dilwale in Bollywood, really just affecting how we think we're going to live a life of love and happiness. And so thank you for joining. I am super excited. And more importantly, the best part of what I've learned from reflecting on how these fairy tales have affected me is knowing how I got away from breaking that chain and breaking that mold of how you think and really being a little bit stronger and recognizing the parts of your mentality that change when you're thinking about fairy tales versus real life relationships. So, for example, in fairy tales, you're going to see things like Prince Charming and a delicate and submissive woman who gets swept off of her feet. And then, there's bad versus evil. And then there's a fight scene at the end of the story and a long kiss and everything gets better at the end. There is usually a beautiful song that we can all relate to. And you're so happy for the princess and her Prince Charming. So, these are the typical things that you see in Bollywood and you see them in Disney, and they become part of the way that we see relationships, the way that we see each other in those relationships, and especially in the way that we try to find love and define love in our life. So, when somebody doesn't fit the mold of Prince Charming, it becomes really hard for us to get over the breakup because we're so preoccupied with defining the way that we thought that relationship was going to be. And, when somebody isn't perfect, we end up feeling a ton of pain and, we end up wanting to stalk their social media and figure out where did they go? Why did such a perfect person? Hey, Sonia. Hey, I'm thinking that's maybe Josh from Spare Change. Thank you guys for joining. I really think that all of that pain, all of that post-breakup hardship and the bad habits that we tend to have in those post-breakup situations can be healed and solved by the simple fact that understanding that these fairy tales are just that. They are not anything other than a story that's made up by us, and we can actually take reality into our own hands and start recognizing the things that are more important in life. So, hey, thank you for joining. So, the change continues. When you start to compare this new person that you're dating, you start to compare them to the old maybe the old person that you were dating, or maybe you are subconsciously comparing them to the person who you remember from that Bollywood movie, let's not say Salman Khan because he was in the news today for some bad stuff, but, Shah Rukh Khan or Jackie Shroff or, those are my guys from the 90s that I love. Akshay Kumar today is still out there, but hey everyone, thanks for joining. I think for the most part, all girls will say, I wish I had my Prince Charming. And in fact, just this morning, which is why I was a little bit late getting online, is I met with a new client and we were going over her dating profile, and I found that she wrote in there, and she knows I'm going to talk about this because I warned her that this happened to be my topic today for Instagram. She basically said, looking for my Prince Charming on her dating profile. And it's kind of a red flag for me because, first of all, who knows what that means except for you? You know, there's no real Prince Charming out there. It is a made-up person by Disney, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story, and there's some great things to take away from that, but for the most part, it's fake. And so, you know, creating this terrible cycle of comparing everybody to either the last person you dated, who you thought was going to be your Prince Charming, or the actual Prince Charming can get really, really exhausting. And it's especially exhausting because you think that each person that you meet is the one, like capital T, capital O. They're the one, and they are going to be the person that you have this great long relationship for, or maybe they're your forever person. And then something goes wrong and you're devastated again. So it's this cycle again. And, you know, that white picket fence dream is gone. And, you know, in your head, you're thinking this person was perfect, but they weren't. You know, and I've been there. I've been there, well, probably too many times, actually. And all of those things that you want to have come true don't. And so you're exhausted from the breakup, and, you know, all you did was give and give and give in this relationship that you thought was going to be worth it and picture perfect. But, you know, something happens and you can't really figure out what it was. I've totally been there. And, you know, life gets in the way of sometimes being able to recognize the reality of things. And hey, everyone, thanks for joining. But for the most part, you know, what was maybe defined as love in this situation was actually your picturing of an ideal that wasn't, in fact, what was going to create a loving, long relationship for you. So, what I often tell people is that defining your relationships and figuring out, you know, whether the person was right for you or whether your picket fence, you know, perfect life just fell apart because it wasn't going to happen the way that you thought it was going to happen is part of the issue. So, you know, those fairy tales that we hear and read and listen to when we're younger and as we're growing up, and still every day, in fact, in the lyrics of a great romantic song or in a, you know, interesting movie, you know, these fairy tales never talk about the actual personalities or characteristics or morals of the Prince Charming or of the heroine of the movie. And so, you know, you can assume them, and I think movies do a really good job helping you assume the characteristics of a person, especially because what they'll do is describe somebody who you can really relate to because maybe they were at a college and you were at a college. Hey, thanks for joining, everyone. Hello. Maybe they were in a college. Maybe they found their love at, you know, at college or in high school, or maybe they ride horses and their Prince Charming came riding in on a horse. So, you know, there's all these things that you can assume because the story is such that it allows for assumptions. But for the most part, you really don't know much about these fairy tale characters. So, you know, no one really knows, you know, how Cinderella takes her coffee, for example, or whether Prince Charming knows how to balance his checkbook. But the fact that he searched high and low everywhere in the town for his Cinderella and for the perfect fit for this glass slipper that he found, that's the beautiful story. And that's what we buy. And that's what we hear, that this person is going to do everything that it takes, high and low, all over the world looking for us. And that's just the fairy tale part of it. We know so little about Prince Charming and Cinderella. Like, who were they? What are their favorite things? What are their characteristics that make them awesome people? So, you know, how do you get over the breakup and the dream or the sadness to make it into something that is healthy and fulfilling and long-lasting? And there is a way to do that. You know, I have been through plenty of heartache and plenty of heartbreak. But, I pulled myself out of the fairy tale world and saw what real, true relationships can be and how happy one can be in a relationship where it is not hard work and where it is not a fairy tale in the way that perhaps society defines fairy tale, but I believe I have a fairy tale life right now. And I believe that my clients and my family and the people who really, truly have found real relationships and how they can be strengthened and developed are living. And it is not bad. It can be a really fulfilling life. So, when I was going through the pain and the sadness, a lot of times what I was doing is finding things to fill my void. I would find a rebound guy or, have some cookies or go on a shopping spree, have some wine, maybe just vent to all my girlfriends for probably a little bit too long. And, those things were perfect for immediate gratification, but they really actually hid the truth behind, what I was actually going through and why I was going through it. So they were basically acting like Band-Aids. Countless times thinking, what went wrong? This person was so perfect. And I think I did everything right. Like, why wasn't it working for me? And the truth was that I just missed out on the ideal. And I missed the feeling of having a potential person with me along the way while I thought I could create the fairy tale life that I thought everyone was supposed to have. And so when the fairy tale was broken, and by recognizing what I really needed and wanted, I actually needed to give up on the fairy tale and the way that I defined that fairy tale, and instead just get real and have real connections with the way that I lived. Hey, thanks for joining. So getting real with myself, getting real with the reality of what relationships can actually give to you. Figuring out, was I in it for the fairy tale dream, or was I actually in it for the good experience that I was going to have with a new chapter in my life, a new person in my life? And getting real about, who I wanted to be was a big factor. Figuring out what my must-haves were and what the bad habits were that either people had or that I had myself, and figuring out how to get rid of those bad habits in my life. Hi, thanks for joining. Fairy tales are made up, and we have to recognize that the fairy tales, not only are they made up by the writers and the lyricists, but they're further made up in our own minds when we try to analyze them for ourselves and not figure out, what portion of those stories we're hibernating in our minds. And unfortunately, we make up these grand expectations, but they're all fake. So, thinking back to times when I thought, things were perfect, were they really? I don't think so. Hey, thanks for joining. Or, maybe what I thought was perfect, or what I thought was, hey, They'll Mail app, what's up? My blog today is, their blog is actually having one of my posts about how I met Mr. Right there on their website. So please check it out, the They'll Mail app. You can find the link on their bio. And so, I'm talking about fairy tales and how they're completely made up, and thinking about times when I thought relationships were perfect, but perhaps they were not, because they didn't stick and they ended quite quickly, actually. And I had to figure out whether those relationships were just in my head, thinking they were perfect and not really thinking about what were the actual experiences that I was having. So, the reality can be awesome too. We don't have to live in those fairy tales. They sound beautiful, whether it's Bollywood or Disney. Like, there's so much good stuff there. They make you feel good. They make you cry and laugh and, want to hug somebody. But the reality of the experiences that are outside of those fairy tales can be fabulous. So, for example, today I have a relationship that is filled with gratitude and unconditional love, acceptance, positivity, and I get a great sense of confidence when I am with my husband. And it didn't come easy. Like, it wasn't just like this, I met the right guy and it happened. I've been through my share of hardships and my share of thinking that I was going to one day have the white picket fence. And I don't even really know why I use that example, because I don't personally want a white picket fence in my life. It seems like a lot of maintenance, but we've all heard that saying that, you have this picture in your mind about who you're going to spend, Friday night with, Netflix and chill, or just have somebody to go to the movies with, somebody to take as your plus one at a wedding. These are all the things that you're kind of wishing and thinking about. So, what I try to emphasize the most is the fact that you can define your own fairy tale and you can make your own rules as to what's going to make you happy and how you're going to get there. Hey, thanks for joining, everyone. So today, like with the dating app culture, for example, you're still very much at risk with this fairy tale syndrome. Too often with each message, there's this like rush of expectations and the scenarios that come up in your mind before you even get a first date. And so, I try to, with coaching clients and, with plenty of friends, emphasize that all of those expectations and all of those scenarios that you're running in your head when somebody finally messages you or responds back to you and is, wanting to chat with you back and forth, all of that stuff that's happening beforehand, that's all in your head. And nothing can, hi, thanks for joining. Nothing can really make sense until you've had a chance to meet and have some good quality time with a person. So in a situation like this, maybe you're going to get a message and start talking to someone from a dating site like Bill Mill. And you start talking about, or you start thinking about, what is it going to be like to date him or her? What is it going to be like in a relationship with them? And, can I see this person coming to dinner with my parents or, at a wedding? And like, for a lot of Indian families, can I see this person doing a dance at my sister's Sangeet? Is this going to be the kind of person who I can, get on board with? And, I basically tell people to stop that. Like I was mentioning, a client that I sat with today, we were going through her dating profile, trying to fix it up and make it more presentable. And I told her I was going to mention this today, wanting every single message from a person on a dating site to be the message from the one, it's exhausting. Just stop it. Like it's too much pressure on you and that poor person who hasn't even spoken a word to you. So I definitely recommend stopping that, taking a breath, going for a ride on this experience and enjoying it. So, I used to do it too. Like every time somebody would message me, I'd get so excited and caught up in, the what if and what are they like? And I wonder if they'll fit into my life. So, hey, thanks for joining. Experiencing the beginning of this dating process and recognizing the truth behind the words that are being communicated and taking a step back to decide whether you're actually being treated in a loving and respectful and positive way is going to be how you pull yourself out of the fairy tale expectations and really live in the moment and really enjoy being with this person who has yet to even tell you what they are all about. And so, I would love to hear what some of you who are online have as your favorite fairy tales and talk to you. I'm going to continue to talk a little bit here so I can answer any questions that you might have. Please feel free to leave them in the comments. Oh, thank you so much. I just got a message online that, she's gaining a lot of knowledge and inspiration from my blogs probably and my Instagram page. And I'm very happy to hear that. I strive to provide a lot of value to not only my clients, but, just throwing it out there and sharing my story of hardship. Many of you know I've been through a divorce. I've been through the sale of a business. And, a lot of these things have strengthened me to talk about these topics and really share the things that I've learned. Wow. Hi, Maria from Italy. And my aunt is online. This is wonderful. Thank you for joining. I'm so happy to see everyone. Please drop me a line and let me know what some of your favorite fairy tale stories are from Disney or from Bollywood, because we've just talked about how some of those fairy tales can be the cause for how we interpret relationships and what they mean to us in life. So definitely tell me the name, type it into the comments of some of your favorite stories. I'm interested to hear them and I'm interested to talk about them. I want to share a little bit with you. Today I met with a client who had in her dating profile that she wanted to meet Prince Charming. And from the perspective of a man, I don't know that anyone could really truly define Prince Charming. And I worried that the princess mentality was doing her no justice. She is a strong, independent, and successful woman. And for her to be exuding this energy of needing a Prince Charming and wanting to meet a Prince Charming, it seemed really exhausting to me. And she knows I'm talking about her. I mentioned it. And it was kind of perfect that we saw her profile today and it said that when today this is my topic. Shoot me a message. Let me know what your favorite Bollywood or Disney movies are that, represent love stories. But I was also talking a little bit about what it is in my life that is just as good, if not way better than the fairy tale life. And I would have to say that in the relationship that I now have with my husband, we both love each other unconditionally. And it is not hard work. It does not require anyone to be overly stressed. In fact, I think that is not too much to ask for out of a relationship. There can be many definitions of Prince Charming, and I definitely want to share that, relationships can create a sense of confidence and love, respect, and positive energy, and also gratitude, just being thankful for where you are in life, and that can come from your loved ones as well. And, I basically wanted to share that these fairy tales don't have to be the way that you define your love. There are ways to break from that. I go into these topics thoroughly with clients and in the Knowing Lux coaching program for both dating and relationships. And I look forward to sharing them with you. Thank you all for being online and for watching this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. Let's continue the conversation of breaking the mentality of these fairy tales, the Prince Charmings, the submissive women, the good and evil extremes, and the fighting that ends with song and lyric and long kisses. Let's break those cycles. Let's talk about finding ways to be stronger in our relationships and also be more realistic in the way that we approach them, in the way that we analyze them, and let's start using real tools to be evaluating our relationships in a way that actually makes sense and that is fair to both ourselves and the people who love us. So thank you all very much for joining. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you more. Have a great day.